If puddings were people, then bread and butter pudding would be rice pudding's mum.
It would.
There's nothing more exciting, is there, than a crack of thunder and then the power going off. Ooh!
Yeah, that's great.
It's fun.
I don't enjoy that.
Find the torches.
If I can get into it. Apparently, it's been soldered on.
It's a man's job to know where.
Well, I'm glad you do.
When the chips come down,
I could find a scented candle.
this boy knows what he's up to.
The house would smell really nice.
I know where the baseball.
Oh my word, this is comical. I can't get into it. Oh, I've done it. Good heavens. Oh, in the boiler room.
Yeah, in the boiler room.
It's not a room.
Because yes, we live on the Titanic.
In the boiler. Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of this.
Excellent. Okay. She just. You absolutely. She.
Cat's mother.
Yes. Kay has.
Welcome, everybody, to 100. I totally messed that up, didn't I? I missed the episode word.
We even just had a practice.
I know, I'm rubbish. To episode 128.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And what a show we have in store.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Because the ingredients for the perfect show are as follows. A delicious pudding. A rather wonderful pattern launch.
Yes.
And there has been an awakening. It happened yesterday evening.
Really?
Have you felt it? I'll come on to that in a minute, but what a show, because brand new pudding, and it's the most, honestly, look.
It's yummy. You can have it for breakfast.
Kay has just enunciated beautifully the reasons as to why this pudding is so stunning. Because any pudding, look, you could argue, couldn't you? You could say, I could go get any pudding and eat it for breakfast.
You could.
But I have never eaten a pudding for breakfast in my life up until the day before yesterday.
No, I haven't either. That's true. And I still haven't. No.
Yes, and I still haven't.
No, I still haven't had pudding for breakfast. I feel like I'm missing out.
This is a fact, though. This is a fact. So this has got to say something, hasn't it? It's got to say something of the epicness of this pudding. And the other thing that blew my mind, I mean, it literally blew my mind about this pudding was when we were researching the history of this pudding. To find out that whilst bread and butter pudding, which is what Kay is making today, dates from the 11th century, they were making bread puddings since Egyptian times.
Yeah, I can believe it.
The Egyptian recipe is called omali, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yes.
And I'm sure I've seen that on cookery programmes.
And the other thing, the point when my mind exploded was when I read that, because bread and butter pudding, as you'll find out in the episode of the pudding coming later in today's show, it was designed by frugal cooks, very poor people. These were the type of people who would have lived in those houses down by the river in
Barnard Castle
that we went to last episode. They would have stale bread that they'd had cooked in the Lord's. Well, look, we got to use it.
Didn't waste a thing.
No. And the other thing that I read about bread pudding that I didn't realise is you can cook it on a stove. You can cook it in the oven.
Right.
You can cook it in a microwave. Which I wouldn't choose to do. These frugal kitchens down by the river, run out of bread, we'll put some rice in. And that's how rice pudding was born.
Oh, I love rice pudding.
I couldn't believe that.
I love it.
If puddings were people, then bread and butter pudding would be rice pudding's mum.
It would. If puddings were people, what pudding would you be if you were a pudding?
Oh.
I'd be rice pudding.
Would you?
I would. I just absolutely adore rice pudding.
I know what
fantastic.
I'd be a summer fruits pavlova. I'll be honest, and this is the reason why Kay wouldn't say last episode what the pudding was. I do not like bread and butter pudding.
No.
It was made for me regularly when I was young, and this was not something that me or my brothers ever looked forward to.
Right.
Because it was disgusting. And
That's a bit harsh.
the challenge for Kay today is, can she turn me around? Well, I've probably already given away the fact.
I think that's possible.
I've already given away the fact that she has, because I was eating this pudding for breakfast.
I wonder where that saying comes from. The worm has turned.
I remember the two Ronnies.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
They did do like a skiff thing. Is that what it's called?
A skiff. That's something.
Is that the wrong word?
A skiff is something that Jabba the Hutt uses to travel around Tatooine. A skit. Is something that comedy people do.
Look, I was nearly there, wasn't I?
The two Ronnies, for those of you who remember, we always watched it.
Yeah, we did.
And the bit that we look forward to the most
was the worm that turned.
No, they did. It was the worm that turned, but they didn't just do the worm that turned.
No, they didn't.
They did a whole range.
They did. They were like little,
some of them
little mini films, weren't they?
And some of them ran for more than one proportion.
They were so funny. It was just brilliant, and it was that kind of belly laughing, which actually we've been doing recently, watching the new Top Gear.
Yeah, would you believe it?
Well, no, I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it.
When Dan told me who the new presenters were, I was very sceptical.
Disengaged.
Yeah. Absolutely, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know about that.
Largely because we don't really like Paddy McGuinness very much.
No, I'm not keen on his
presenting roles.
Yeah.
And I think it's always felt a bit forced.
Yeah.
It hasn't felt just natural. Well, my goodness, he's clearly found the right vehicle for himself, because
it's so funny.
It is unbelievably natural.
Yeah.
It's like he's come home. This is perfect for him. Do you know what? It's the first time I've watched Top Gear in years when it's felt like Top Gear used to be 10 years ago.
Used to be, yeah, because we never really enjoyed it when it was Matt LeBlanc. I just love their accents. You know, there's Paddy McGuinness, there's Freddie Flintoff, and then there's Chris Harris. But the two new ones, their accents are they're just fantastic. I just love.
Yeah,
you know, that just adds to the funniness of it, doesn't it?
Well, it's the Bolton accent.
Bolton, yeah.
Because the Bolton accent is a bit different to the Lancashire accent. It is a bit different,
accent. Yeah, it is, that's right. The Bolton one's brilliant.
It's as broad as you could possibly be.
At first, Bryony's like, what are they saying? She honestly could barely understand it, but we've watched a couple now and she does understand.
The awakening which happened yesterday evening.
I don't remember this.
Well, was
I there?
She clearly didn't feel it. There are certain times in your life when certain things happen.
I know what you're going to say.
Yes. There's certain times in your life when certain things happen which open up a whole new chapter of your life. As you know, I love history. And I've been obsessed with Roman history. And I also, not just that, Henry VIII. Well, the list is just huge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and list all the historical things that I love. For the last 6 months, I've become more and more aware that I've totally not ignored. It just wasn't on my radar. Greek history. And for Christmas, I asked Santa to bring me some Greek history books. And he totally did. I was still in the process of reading a Roman history book, which I just finished a couple of nights ago. And so last night, for the first time, I picked up, and the book is this. And it's The Ancient Greeks, 10 Ways They Shaped the Modern World by Edith Hall. And initially you look at that and you think, ooh, this looks like it should maybe have on it across there new evidence or something along those lines.
I love a new evidence programme. I'm a complete sucker.
You think, you look at this and you think perhaps this is not a particularly serious history book. As soon as you see the size of the writing, that's how I judge the quality of a book. If the writing is small and they're using a lot of the page, then 9 times out of 10, this book is going to be good. Yeah,
because there's a lot to say. It's a serious book, isn't it?
Whereas if the writing's big and they've left a nice big margin, then it's not going to be any good. Put it down, walk away.
They've just tried to pad it.
I've read 6 pages and already my mind is blown.
Yeah, you were reading it last night and you said, well, I need to just tell you this.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I read. I'm not messing around now. It's changed my view on the whole world.
On the whole world. It really, really does make you think, gosh, that's what it was like. And that's how it should be.
And I'll tell you what I read. And that is, the ancient Greeks were very similar to all the other civilizations who were around. We're talking around 1600 BC now. They intermarried between anyone who they fell in love with. They didn't care where that person came from, because the idea of race had not been invented yet.
I mean, just think about that for a minute.
Race is an invention. We are humans who live on Earth, and we are all the same.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, up until I read it in that book, I've subsequently looked, because that's what happens, doesn't it? You read something and then, you know, the internet is frustrating in many ways, but in other ways, it's not. Using the right way, it's brilliant, because you immediately can go away and start going, oh, right, okay, is that true? What did the Hittites do? Because the Hittites were another big, powerful race that were around at that time. Yeah. And, you know, you can go away and you can research, you can find out, and it's just opening up a whole new way of me looking at the world, because society brings you up to believe I'm British.
Yeah. Or wherever you're from.
And yes, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with being from where you're from, but I think the focus of my mind has just totally shifted now. It's totally shifted to know that, you know, when some of the most amazing people were around, because the Greeks, they knew what they were doing.
They did.
I mean, they absolutely knew what they were doing. And to know that they didn't care, well...
You know, just a person from a different place.
Yeah. I bet they didn't even think that.
They probably didn't even think that, no.
It's just someone else.
Just someone else.
Yes.
Yeah, it does bring it down to just its very simplest form.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, it's the least complicated way of thinking about us as a species, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. So I'm going to love reading this, because then I read something else in there, and I'm not going to bore you. Well, I've only read 6 pages, so I wouldn't be able to bore you with much more. But would you believe that the ancient Greeks were accomplished divers? Could you please explain to me how you are an accomplished diver before the invention of tanks that you strap on your back? They would take down, and when one ran out...
Is it like when you put a bottle...
Yes.
Like open like that?
Yes.
And it creates space inside, doesn't it? And the water stays there. It's like that.
And when one ran out, they'd lower down another one to them. It's amazing. It is genius.
Amazing.
Just brilliant. Yeah. So I'm going to love... And I've not just got one, I've got 2 plus I've got a third.
Oh, right.
I bought a third. I bought a translation of the works of Herodotus.
Oh, gosh.
That's the book. I know a lot of people, surprisingly, I was gobsmacked when I found out about this. A lot of people actually listen to my book recommendations, go away and buy the books.
Wow.
So I've read 6 pages and I'm excited. So, you know, join me in this quest of learning. A part of our childhood is dead.
I know what you're going to say.
You didn't realise I was close to tears?
No, I didn't, actually.
Don't laugh. I'm upset with you now. And, you know, you'll think we're stupid when I tell you why. Or when Kay tells you why.
Well, I was looking into...
Yes, it's all your fault.
It's all my fault, because we've got in the sweet drawer, we have a sweet drawer, just in case we've never told you that. We have a drawer downstairs in the kitchen that we store all our sweets in. And in that sweet drawer, there was a bag of jelly tots. I've not had jelly tots for years, so I thought, I'll have a few of those jelly tots. Well, these jelly tots are not the jelly tots that I remember. Jelly tots were tiny little things, not very high, were they?
Yeah.
Quite flat.
Yeah.
Little jelly sweets coated in sugar, all different colours. Well, these things now are huge. They're more like slightly sort of pyramid shaped, and they're like the jelly sweets you get in dolly mixtures.
Yeah.
Well, I was outraged by this. So we were talking about it, and I posted actually on Instagram. And then someone commented and said, oh yeah, and they're not making Tutti Fruttis anymore, are they? Well, I told Dan. He was like, what?
Well, I thought...
Tutti Fruttis are yours and Bryony's favourites.
I thought, this is obviously not true.
Yeah, we thought that can't be right.
So I went and looked.
It's totally right.
It's totally right. And I can tell you why they've stopped making Tutti Fruttis.
It's outrageous.
They've stopped making Tutti Fruttis because those aren't the type of sweets which young people want to eat anymore.
Really?
They want to eat things like Haribos. So what Rowntree's, well, Nestle's.
Rowntree's. Is it Rowntree's Nestle?
It's
or
Nestle.
It's like a joined thing now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nestle bought out Rowntree's.
Right.
So what they've decided is that they are going to enhance and enlarge their randoms.
Which are rubbish.
They are rubbish. Randoms are like foamy, horrible...
Like Haribos.
Yeah, they're exactly like Haribos.
Yeah. And we're not Haribo. Bryony likes Haribos, but we're not Haribos fans.
I'm firmly of the belief, right, that the reason why Haribos are so popular is because they appeared on the market and they must have had a massive budget because it's like they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Adverts on the telly, kids and adults love it, so...
Yeah.
And when you go at something full on with a massive budget, it's like imprinted in people's minds.
Yeah.
Oh, what sweets do you want? Oh, well, that advert's nice. I'll have some Haribos.
Yeah.
So that then makes the sales of those sweets shoot up. And then Rowntree's, who have been making these sweets...
For decades.
Eons.
Decades, yeah.
Oh, we want some of that. We want some of that business. So what we'll do is we'll start to make these randoms, which are just the same as Haribo's, gummy and horrible. So Tutti Fruttis have gone. Part of my childhood.
Tutti Fruttis were... I can't believe I'm saying were now, because it's only recently we were buying bags that we always buy Tutti Fruttis.
Why wasn't there some sort of announcement?
Yeah, so that we could go and stockpile the Tutti Fruttis. They were, if you don't know, they were square, fairly flat, and they're all different colours, all different sort of flavours, and they had like a crispy outside.
Like an M&M.
Yeah, but then inside was like, it wasn't gummy, and it not at all gummy. It was kind of...
Well, it was like a chewy. It was chewy.
Yeah, kind of chewy, yeah. But when you bite into it, and then you've got the crunchy,
so it crunches and then it chews.
They were fantastic.
Yeah, they
just
were
fantastic sweets.
Yeah.
And
not
they
anymore.
are no more. It's just... Oh, it's tragic, isn't it?
It is absolutely tragic. So we are mourning the loss of Tutti Fruttis. And it's now time to find out. Kay Jones, what's on your noodle?
Well, do you think I've finished the shift cowl?
No, I think you stopped deliberately so that you had something to show.
No, that's not true.
Oh.
I did last episode. I accidentally finished something that I intended on not finishing.
That's really funny.
But no, this, I was really working really, really hard to finish it. I'm like, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to finish it, I'm going to finish it. I did not finish it. However...
So you must be really close to finishing.
I'm very close to finishing. Right. I've got 12 more rows left in the final section, and then it's just the bind off. So I'm really close, and I've done loads since last time. So this is The Shift by Andrea Mowry. Look, I'm nearly done. Look. Oh, there's the start down there. Da, 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 da. And I'm on this...
What's with the tune?
Oh, I don't know. It's like a little fanfare, because it needs a little fanfare. So I'm on this final section, which you can see I've changed colour here. I've got to say, I've just been following the pattern blindly. I've not really been thinking about the colour placement, you know, the colour changes that were happening. So when it told me to use colour X and Y, I've been using colour X and Y without questioning it and without thinking, is that aesthetically pleasing to me? These sections here, can you see there's this ginormous section that uses the two same colours, whereas previously you can see I've been changing quite regularly, and then you hit this huge section of not changing, and then you only change colour for the last 20 rows. You did the 20 rows previous, so on this last section you do make
opposites.
What's the word?
What?
You turn the colours around. So I've been using, for example, B and C here. Well, you're still using B and C here, but you're using C and B. You like turn them around. You know what I mean? But actually, I don't think it really makes that much difference when you look at that whole section here. I don't know that you can really tell that bit there, I've switched the colours around. It still just looks like one great big lump of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then it's only these final 20 rows that I've changed the colour.
Right.
And if I'd realised this, I wouldn't have done that. I would have kept changing the colours every 40 rows it is. because I really like the way that looks, this, you know, with the different colours. But then you just get this whole section. And this is the bit that'll be on the front. So this is actually the bit that you seam. Can you see the slope here is the bit that you seam? So I did originally say when I started knitting this, I was worried that this start sort of little corner was flipping. Well, it doesn't matter at all because that's where you seam it. Somebody kindly told me that.
A few people did
great.
actually.
Yeah.
Which is very kind.
Which was very kind,
Yes.
and that was like, great, I didn't realise that.
Thank goodness
I
you
would have,
thought.
obviously, when I'd seamed it together, but at that point I didn't know. So you seam that side there to this bit here, like that. So this is going to be the neck opening, and it's going to sit like that. So you'll have the bit that you will see mainly is this section that's all the same. And then you will obviously see a bit of this up. This will be by your neck, and then you'll see the bit of contrast down here. I really wish I'd thought more about it when I was knitting it, because I would have switched the colours so that it carried on being like this bit. But that's just my personal choice. I mean, it's obviously been a design choice by Andrea that she did it that way. And, you know, that's totally fine. I just wish I'd been more aware, I think. But that being said, I do love this colour combination here. I think it's really pretty. It's very wearable, isn't it? And I'm almost done. So this will definitely be finished for the next episode. It'll be finished, it'll be blocked, and hopefully if it's not too hot, I will be wearing it.
Ooh.
We're heading into a warmer period, aren't we? But luckily we're not down south where it's going to be really hot this coming weekend.
It is, but I don't think we can complain even slightly, because we've had just the most English of summers so far.
So far, yeah.
It is absolutely marvellous.
It's been really nice. And
it's like 13 degrees outside.
It's cool and grey at the moment. We just
Bring it on, baby.
We just had this storm pass through the country, didn't we? We didn't really get much of it. We had a little rumble of thunder, but we got lots of rain.
It's so boring.
Boring.
Look, when a storm is forecast, I want to see some of it.
Yeah, it kept saying, there's a storm coming, there's a storm coming. Oh, no.
This storm was the storm to end all storms.
It's going to miss you.
It was going to start at 5 a.m.
It's going to
and it was
really
going to
bad.
run all the way through. Not here, it hasn't.
Not here, but it has been really
And it's never as bad here as it says everywhere
which
else.
we should be thankful for.
No, I'm not thankful, because I like the entertainment of a good storm. There's nothing more exciting, is there, than a crack of thunder and then the power going off. Ooh!
Oh, yeah, that's great.
It's fun.
I don't enjoy that.
Find the torches.
Okay, where is the torch in this house?
I know exactly.
Me.
It's a man's job to know where.
Well, I'm glad you do.
When the chips come down,
I could find a scented candle.
this
but that'd be about it.
boy knows what he's up
The
to.
house would smell really nice.
I know where the baseball bat is, and I know.
Oh yeah, we
I
have
do.
a baseball bat under the bed.
I do.
It's under the bed, isn't
And I know where the torch is.
Right. Well, that's excellent because I.
Shall I tell you?
Where is it?
It's in with the water heater.
Oh, in the boiler room.
Yeah,
Not
in the boiler room.
It's not a room.
Because yes, we live on the Titanic.
In the boiler room. No, it's not a room.
We live in a stately home.
It's like a cupboard.
Yes.
In the boiler cupboard.
Small cupboard.
Airing cupboard. Thank you.
Yes.
That's the word. Except you can't air in our airing cupboard because there's no shelves above the boiler.
No, it's not an airing cupboard.
It's not an airing cupboard.
I think
but
that's
it could
a
be
dated.
an airing cupboard.
Well, it could
if
be.
there was shelves above it.
I remember.
Slotted wooden shelves.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean, because when I was growing up, my bedroom, when I actually got a little bit older, because it was initially my brother's room, their bedroom was like adjacent, right? It was attached to the airing cupboard.
Right.
And I found the airing cupboard petrifying.
Why?
It scared me because it was dark and it made noises.
Yeah, because the boiler's in there.
Because the boiler's in there.
No, it's not the boiler, it's the tank.
Yeah, the tank, so it would gurgle
Hot
and
water
groan,
tank.
and you'd be like, ooh, what's going on in there?
To be
and
honest,
also, the cat used to go in there and sleep.
Oh, I thought you were going to say wee.
No, so, oh yes, I'll just go into the airing cupboard and get out a nice sheet to put on my bed. Oh, look, it's covered in cat hair. Which, of course,
you're
I was allergic to.
And we did have a cat for I had the cat, it was my cat when we met. So,
Yes, it was your cat.
The cat came into the house from me. And we had
How could this cat
we had her for many
smell
years.
a fish Even when she hadn't eaten fish?
Leave her alone. We had her for many years until she died, but you never went near her because you were so allergic. And I had to she lived really mainly in the kitchen. I kept her out of the rest of the house because Dan is so allergic to it.
I did go near her a couple of times.
Not very many times, honey.
Look,
you
in the first week...
You might have done that on the top of her head a couple of times.
The first week that we were together...
Oh, you were just being kind to me, probably.
I put the cat on my knee.
Did you?
I did, in the hope that it would sort of curl up and go to sleep.
Oh, she never did that.
No. What the cat did was...
She dribbled.
It dribbled all over my legs and made me smell of kitty cat.
You couldn't
And then
ever...
also dug its claws into my legs.
Yeah, she did. You couldn't ever stroke her because as soon as you started stroking her, she'd start to drool everywhere.
Which, funnily enough, I do too.
Yeah. Tangent aside, I've almost finished and I'm using the 3 skeins of hand spun. I've still got loads left actually. And for this
you could knit another.
Oh yeah, I'll be doing that. These are the 2 that I'm using for the last section. So it's the one from Susan Claudino and it's the one from Fondant Fibre. I did actually, this one, I wanted that last section not to be too orange because there is some orange in there. So I wound off a little bit of the orange because I wanted to get to the pinky and the blue. I'm more of a pink and a blue person than orange. So you can see it is a slightly bit orange, but it's then running into like more of a pinky colour. So 12 rows and a fancy schmancy bind off, which looks really pretty. I will be done. I will block it. I have woven in all my ends actually. The other day I thought, right, I'm not going to be left with ends at the end. So I wove them all in them. So that's cool. So I've got to just finish it. I reckon if, on a weekend, if I set an afternoon aside, I could finish this and get it blocked. I will block it before I seam it to make sure I get the dimensions on the schematic and then it will be done. So I'm not going to say I've enjoyed it because I think you all know that would be a bit of a fib. I did enjoy it at the beginning, but then it just got a bit too repetitive for me and it just became a little bit too tedious. It's just the same thing over and over and over and that's not me at all. I just, not when it's such a long repeat like that. But I'm nearly there, so yay!
It's really interesting the sort of points that you're touching on there because this is it's a product which you want.
Yes,
but it's
I really want it.
It's a process you don't want to go through.
Yeah, I know.
And I know so many of you will probably know this already, but I found myself discussing what knitting nirvana was on the episode of Return to the Centre of the Yoke, which came out yesterday, and I sort of came to the conclusion that knitting nirvana was a item that you wanted with a process that you enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And I would say for me, definitely the Solia.
All right.
And I think I should knit another one of those and get the sleeves right.
Oh, right.
But also...
That's ambitious.
Definitely the Cascades.
Yeah.
But also the Samantha.
But you never want to knit anything for yourself, do you?
No.
Which is odd, I think.
I want to knit things for other people.
It's not odd.
I want to knit things for other people.
I would rather knit for other people, I think.
And I've never had any inclination
to knit something for yourself.
No.
So anyway, it's nearly finished, and I'm using the recommended needles, which are 3.75mm, and I'm using my higher bamboo interchangeables, which are pretty much the only interchangeables that I'm using these days. I'm using them on several projects at the minute. It's not super grippy and your stitches slide lovely. I don't have any problems at all, and the more you work with them, it polishes up really lovely. So, Dan Jones, what's on your needles?
It's a sock and I'm nearly finished.
Oh my goodness!
Still taking too long.
Well, that's exciting.
Well, it is exciting. Look.
Yeah.
The yarn's lovely. And the pattern repeat is just great. I do not dislike knitting on these socks at all.
You should knit a twister hat then, because
No, I should knit the Peter Rabbit socks.
Oh, right, yeah, they're lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I'll have knit all 3.
Peter socks.
Yeah, the Peter, I'm sorry.
Peter socks, not
Yeah, but
Peter.
we all know what comes after it. It's rabbit. I wouldn't want to lose the sort of thin DPN, thin yarn
I thought you hated
skills.
knitting socks.
It's not my favourite at all.
Okay.
But I have enjoyed knitting these so much.
A blocker for you, though.
It's like when you find a pattern by like the Michelle Wong. I knit partway through knitting that, and I've already now, with Kate's help, decided on the next thing. And when you find a designer that you like, it's a bit like finding an artist, a music artist that you like.
True.
You want to buy more albums. That actually, I haven't found a new music artist that I like in years, and I find that a bit sad and a bit disappointing. I want to know, because music radio, for me, it just isn't the same anymore.
Well, no.
It's as if you're being steered towards this whole sort of idea of, paying monthly and having access to everything like Apple Music or Spotify. I don't want to do that. I like to own my albums, but that's another story. So yes, look, when you find a pattern by a designer that you like, you want to knit more. And these, most definitely.
Do you like the designer?
I do.
Oh, that's nice.
Out of all... Well, I've never knit a pair of socks that I've really enjoyed. Mine's everyday socks I did enjoy.
Yeah, I love those.
But a bit like with a bankhead, where the pattern feels like music and it flows and everything is everything's working and you're happy and knitting Nirvana.
But it's
this
lovely.
feels just like that, and I love as well.
Yeah.
I love the look of the finished fabric.
It's on a rabbit sock.
I know. It's
How
perfect.
cute is that? Jules sent me these.
It's my favourite thing, actually, about it. And I think that's when I don't enjoy socks, is when it's plain.
Do you know, you're absolutely right. You sometimes think, oh, vanilla socks are really relaxing and great and lovely.
No, they're
but
boring.
Actually, I much prefer a sock with a bit of something going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the majority of my sock designs are, they're very relaxing to knit. I don't want them to be complicated. I want it to have that feeling of knitting a plain sock, but actually it's not plain. It's got something going on. And I think having a bit of pattern in it, certainly for me, it makes it go much quicker.
Your other moment of genius was the ribbing.
Oh, well, I've used this again in something, which I'm going to show you.
I don't like plain ribbing.
I don't think anybody does. Boring knitting ribbon, isn't it?
It is. Now,
I love the look of
certain
ribbing.
patterns that I've knit, I'm thinking of the speargrass ribbing,
Right.
which is setting you up.
Yes.
It's
Because
cool.
it's a different proportion of knits and pearls.
It's
isn't
interesting.
It?
It's interesting. There's something going on. This is definitely, oh my goodness, it's just fun. And if you can give me a ribbing that's fun to knit, then
I've put this ribbon onto another design, which I'm going to show you in a bit, because I just thought it was that feeling of, I've got to knit a fair bit of ribbon on this design, and I just wanted it to be a bit more enjoyable than just knitting 2x2 rib. So I remembered this one and I put this one in, and it made the ribbon go so fast.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So this is Thomasina, one of my designs, and the yarn is Opal.
It's great.
Hopefully this will be the last time we tell you what this yarn is, because next time it'll be finished.
The first time I knit with Opal, I didn't like it. It felt stringy and there was no stretch.
No, but this one's really nice. This one's a nice plump Opal.
It's got a nice bit of stretch. It feels nice to the fingers and it looks great.
It's lovely. It's one of the Claude Monet ranges, and it's number 9684. It's this painting with the lovely bridge on.
Now, what was so unbelievably cool recently was Kay had done some knitting with, what was the 100-Twasse? Was that Opal?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a whole range. I've got quite a few of those skeins, actually. I love them.
And we'd always sort of laughed when we'd said 100-Twasse, because it's quite hard to say. And you don't really think about who he was. My goodness.
He's an artist. I don't know if he's still alive, actually. I've no idea.
No, he's not.
Oh, right, okay.
Our daughter comes home from school the other week and she had some art homework to do, and she had to research 100-Twasse.
And she had to do her own...
So I found myself...
her own painting inspired by that artist.
He's done, all this crazy artwork.
They are a bit crazy.
Where it's...
Fantastic colours.
Where he's clearly been to the shops, come home, taken off the paper off something, and then done artwork on it.
Okay.
He does artwork on things which would normally end up in the bin.
Right.
And also he's designed buildings,
Right.
and they're nuts. I mean,
is it a bit like Gaudi in that respect, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I couldn't believe some of the buildings. You're like, that can't be a building, and then you do the search, and then there it is.
Amazing.
So what a totally
we
crazy...
were thrilled. She came home. We were like, oh my gosh.
I tell you now who he reminds me of: Salvador Dali.
Oh right. So it's surrealism.
It's not as crazy as him.
Right. Okay.
So that was just so cool seeing that. But this though, who's the painting? Do you know who the painting was by?
Monet.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking we're still talking
a fairly famous artist then.
Yeah, I think most people know who Claude Monet was. Yeah.
So yes, loving this.
He's an impressionist.
Yes.
Totally different to.
I prefer Jasper Carrot.
Oh, I couldn't stand Jasper Carrot. I never found him funny.
I thought it was funny.
There's loads of comedians I don't find funny though, and you find hilarious.
Remember Phil Cool?
He wasn't funny either. My dad used to love him because my dad was called Phil.
He'd make the faces.
Funny faces.
Where he would make himself look like the person. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Yeah. So almost done. They'll be done next time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to know what else is on your hook. Is it on your hook?
Oh yes, you got it right.
Wow.
I saw that,
My
and you were
goodness.
prepared, weren't you, to say
slick.
Hook rather than needle.
Yes.
I've got a new little crochet project on the go, and this little crochet project has led on to something that I'm really excited about.
And I'm too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm really, really excited. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but not too much.
Because you need to flesh it out.
I need to work on it a bit more.
Make sure it's actually going to work.
Yeah. But the thing that this started with was I was doing a bunch of tutorials for our patrons, and I always try to think of something that's maybe a bit different, a bit new, not done before. I must have had Christmas on my mind, and I suddenly thought, oh, do you know what? Maybe I will do some crocheted coasters, because we use coasters everywhere, don't we, all around the house?
Yeah.
And I think you can never really have too many of them. So I thought, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to do little sets of 4 coasters, tie them up with a ribbon, and just make stacks of them as Christmas gifts. So that was my thought, and I thought, oh, I'll do a tutorial because other people might want to do this as well. So this is the little coaster that I made. It's really simple. It's just a circular, I was going to say a circular square then, which
It's a circular circle.
Obviously, that doesn't make sense. But it's like a solid granny square, but a circle. I don't know what they're called in crochet, but you can see it's got 4 rounds of a circle with trebles. And then I've edged it with just a shell stitch. And I just thought, well, that's just lovely, isn't it? So I made another. And then I made another, and I made another. So I actually made another. I stole one as well, so here it is. I'm using it at the minute. So I got 5 of these pretty little coasters out of 1 skein of this Drops Cotton Merino, and I got a few of these in my stash. I've mentioned this yarn recently before, and I wanted to try it, so I just bought a few kind of random colours. It's really good, it's, as with all Drops yarn, it's a brilliant price. I think it's maybe £3 around that, something like £3 for a 50-gram ball. It's a DK weight, and it's 50% merino, 50% cotton. So I thought, well, that will be great for a coaster. It's not all cotton, but I thought, well, I'm sure the blend will be okay to use as sort of homeware type products. So out of that 50-gram ball, I got 5 of these little coasters. They weighed 8 grams each, so I had just about 5 grams left out of it. So I think that's just brilliant. You've got 5 coasters out of 1 50-gram ball that cost me £3 something. So I had a few colours, so I thought, brilliant. I recorded the tutorial, so that was done, and I just wanted to carry on making these. So I'd got a pink. So I've got this sort of beigey colour, and I've got this pink, and I'm still working on the pink. I've done 3. So I've got another couple to make. And then I've got this lovely purple, and then this really nice denim-y blue. So I thought those 2 colours, and then these 2 as a little set of coasters. I think would be lovely. So there's going to be one of each colour and there'll be sets of 4. I'm doing sets of 4 because that seemed like a good number. 5, it's an odd number, isn't it? And that I wanted it to be an even number for some reason. You don't often see things when you buy sets of things. They're usually in even, it's 4 or 6, isn't it? And I didn't have enough to make 6. So I thought, right, I'll put 4 in each little group, and then the extra 1 that I make from each colour we'll just use. So like this one is mine. Oh, now I need to be sure I put back the right one. That's the one I'm using because it's a bit more flattened. And then I gave Bryony wanted a blue one, so I made 1 blue one, so she's got that already, so I've got enough here to make 4 more. And then I'll do the purple, and they literally take, if I sit down and don't do anything else, I can make one of these in 15 minutes. They just whip up so quick. It's such a satisfying little thing. And I have blocked these ones, the brownie coloured ones, but I haven't blocked the pink yet. It's not that much difference, to be fair. I think you could get away without blocking them, but I did wash and block these ones, and I will the rest when I do them. So I used a 4mm hook in this lovely purple colour. I only ever use these hooks, they're clover for crochet, because they've got that kind of, it's not super squishy, it's quite a hard sort of rubbery material, but it's not as hard as just a metal, and it gives you something to grip onto. It's a bit more substantial than just a plain metal hook. So I've just been whipping these up whenever I've got 15 minutes. I just think, oh, I'm going to do another one of those, and then by Christmas I'll have 4 gifts there for people, and it might be that it's just part of another gift, because it's not a huge thing, is it? So it might be that I give a little set of coasters and maybe a nice mug or something like that, and then it's an associated gift, isn't it? But part of it is handmade, and I think that's really nice, and I'm really enjoying making them. It's just nice to do something a bit different, you know, that's very quick. It's like that instant gratification project, and you know that you're building up a little collection that at Christmas you can just bundle together and make. There'll be 4 gifts there. And I think also they'd be nice, you could have just a little stack of these in your house, and if you get an unexpected visitor at Christmas, you could just think, oh yeah, I'll just wrap those up.
Anytime.
Or anytime, yeah. Birthdays, just meeting a friend for coffee that you've not seen for a while.
Have some coasters.
Yeah, I just love them. I think it's just a great little project. Doing these and knowing how much I really enjoyed doing them kind of put a thought in my mind. Well, what if I was to use sock weight yarn with this and just create something a bit different? So I started playing around, and I started making sock weight versions of the circle in the middle, and then I figured out a way of bordering it to square it all off. And the way I did that, I didn't know how to do it, but the way I did that was I looked at YouTube videos, I looked in a couple of crochet books I've got, and I just figured it out for the size of circle that I had. I just kind of counted how many stitches I'd got round the outside, divided it so I knew how many effectively would be on each side, and then just worked out which type of stitches I needed to put in to even out the circle, and just bordered them in a, this is just a undyed fingering weight that I had. So I've got a few of these little circles, aren't they just, well, circles to square, I suppose. This one is Polyjuice, one of the colours that's in the prize pot for the Swish and Flick. A lovely peach one, purpley one. And then this is Remus Lupin, one of my colours. So I've got all of these, look. And my first thought was, I'm going to make this into a blanket. I'm going to somehow join these, and I think I would crochet them together. I didn't want to do the join as you go thing for these. And the reason I didn't is because I wanted it to be more of a, like these, more of an instant gratification thing. I wanted to be able just to, if I'd got, these take a bit longer. These probably take me maybe 30 minutes at the most, at the very most, if I'm not concentrating. If I'm just focused and concentrating, I can probably do it in a bit less than that. I wanted it to be one of those things where I can just make one, add it to the pile, make another, add it to the pile, and just build it up, and then think about how it was all going to be joined together. And I know that I can crochet them together, and I quite like the look of the ridge that you get when you crochet them together. But then that led me on to another thought, and that's the thing I'm working on at the moment that I'm not going to go into any more detail about because I am still working on it. But it just led me down another path with these into something else that I'll talk about at some point.
Because it's potentially a new design, isn't it?
Yes, it's potentially a new design, and it's something really different, really, really different to anything I've ever done before. So it's taken a bit of figuring out and a bit of working on and a bit of thinking. So when I'm kind of satisfied that I've got to the bottom of the thinking tank, if you like, I'll talk about that a bit more. But as you can see, I did loads of these, and I did a few more as well.
She did so many, she injured herself.
Well, I kind of did. You know what I'm like with crochet? I have to be careful, and I wasn't thinking. And I just kept making more and more and more, and I was like, oh, another colour, another colour. I just got completely carried away. And then that night, I had this strange pain down here, actually. And I was like, what's that? This shoulder was hurting as well. And then it suddenly dawned on me I'd been crocheting. So I didn't for a few days, and then I picked it up again and did another couple, and that night I had the same pain. So I said to you, didn't I? I said, I'm going to have to just pace myself.
Yeah.
And just do a little bit at a time, and it'll be done when it's done, kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm just really enjoying it. And these ones I did on a 3mm hook. I really love 3mm and fingering weight yarn for things that are like squares. I really love. That's the size that I use for other things as well. But 3mm and sock weight, I think, is really nice. So really enjoying that, and I will keep you posted on the thing I'm working on.
The next project, I have a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah, I do get it.
It's really difficult because I don't enjoy the process, but I know I'm learning lots, and I know I'm improving my skills. It's a Colorwork hat.
Yeah.
It's one that I'm sure lots of you will have knit, and it is, of course, the Alaska. Yeah, you see, I saw that on a picture that I took, and I thought, that's really pretty.
Oh my goodness. This, if you remember, I tried to knit this hat ages ago.
She couldn't do it. She couldn't do it.
And I
didn't
chose
have the skills.
The wrong... skills with a Z, as you and Bryony say.
Except when you have lots of skills, it's skills with a Q.
I don't know what they're talking about half the time. I just sit there and ignore them. It's like they're in a little world of their own.
We speak street.
They do. So I failed when I was knitting this, and you wanted to have a go at knitting fingering weight, didn't you, with Colorwork?
Yes, I just wanted to push the envelope a bit. I wanted to do Colorwork, fingering weight, with a really sort of challenging chart.
Yeah, and this is all of that. So it's the Alaska hat.
Yes.
And
did you get to this point, or...?
No.
Oh, no, okay.
No, because my contrast wasn't high enough, and that was my issue.
Kay was knitting hers in white and cream.
No, it wasn't. I'd used like a sort of beigey colour for the trees, and the contrast just wasn't high enough. And what I really wanted was wintry trees and wintry snowy ground and a white sky. So that's what I gave you to do. And at first, when he was knitting this, I thought, this is not working.
I think...
But you've got to knit more. And look.
I think credit where credit's due.
Holy moly. Is that not amazing?
Credit where credit's due, right? I'll show you the other side,
because the colours are different on the other side.
What's making this work is that yarn.
Yeah.
And not the cream.
No.
It's Erica Luder's.
The cream is just Cascade Heritage. It's white, actually. It's in white. Yeah, the other skein is Erica's. It's Erica Luder.
What we wanted was something which would sort of give you that night sky look.
Yeah.
Maybe, if we're really going for perfection, maybe like a Swedish Norwegian sky.
Northern Lights.
Northern Lights
yes.
effect. And that's exactly what this is giving.
Because the colours are changing.
It's just phenomenal. What's so challenging, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
What's so challenging about the hat?
Will you do me another one?
Is... I don't know. We'll see how we go.
Look how fantastic. People are going to stop me in the park when I'm on my walks and say, what is that hat? And I shall say, my husband knit this for me. You can't have it.
No. Look, what is challenging about this hat is there's no rhythm at all.
None.
To the colour work.
No.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
Because you've got to concentrate unbelievably hard.
Yeah.
And so you can't do it when you're remotely tired. Although doing it makes me feel tired, so I have to stop.
I think it's just because you've got to use your brain so much, because you can't
just have to think about every little stitch.
It's because it's so random. It's such a random pattern.
There's massive float areas.
You can see.
But that was important to me because I wanted to get better at floating.
The areas.
And I think I'm doing okay.
Oh, here. I can't point there.
I think I'm doing okay with the floats.
I think you're doing very well.
And it's been a superb.
Yeah.
It's doing what I wanted this project to do, and that is challenge me greatly. And it depends, of course, what you're looking for from a project. But I feel bad in a sense that I was so sort of frustrated with it. But at no point did I say, oh, I can't stand this so much, I think I should rip it out.
No, because I would have said do that then.
You did. I think you did a lot.
I think when you were down here, I think the thing with this project, and other people said this to me when I was knitting mine, is that you've got to keep going.
Yeah.
The more you knit of it, the more you will see those trees. And I was sceptical, but now look.
They're there. Look at the little
It's
beauties.
Amazing. I'm going to wear this in the summer. I don't care if it's 30 degrees.
I don't care if I'm sweating. It's
I
really...
love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's such a rewarding project, and I do feel that your experience with the wrong yarn means that the thanks for the rewarding nature of this project should be totally with Erica, because without that yarn it wouldn't be working. You know, clearly it's a very good pattern in that it's delivering what it sets out to deliver, which is that blend from... And do you know what? Those are the Colorwork patterns which I've enjoyed the most, where... Because often with a colourwork pattern, the colourwork will just be like little accents here and there. But I love it when it flips around and the main colour effectively flips to what the contrast is, and then it flips back again. And that's exactly what's happening here. It's contrasting from the main through to the other colour becoming the main.
That's right.
And that's fun.
And that's you can see on the pattern thing, it's been the other way around. The trees are dark and the sky is light.
I'm going to be controversial here, but I think our yarn selections are better.
I really want... I'd seen quite a few people had done it the other way, where the trees were white, you know, when you look at the projects, and I just loved that, just the snowy trees. So that's why I wanted it that way around. But the designer is... Oh, gosh.
Look, why do you get yourselves into these pickles? It's the Alaska hat.
Camille something.
Oh,
You'll find
will
it.
you ever learn?
Yeah, it's easy to find. When you look at it just like this... It's difficult to see it, but just seeing it on camera from a distance, that's when it's really, you know, that's the first time it's jumped out at me.
Well, I took a picture of this.
And that's how you saw it.
For our patrons' Facebook community group.
Right.
And, you know, I took the photo, hadn't sunk in, posted the photo, still didn't sink in. Then someone commented, and I happened to look at the photo, and I thought, oh my goodness.
It does look good.
Look at that. That's really pretty. And I think as soon as you reach that point on a project, that gives you such inspiration to then continue on. And what this has to demonstrate, it's got to be the perfect demonstration of the fact that you shouldn't ever give up.
No.
Don't give up.
Don't do what I did and give up.
Well, no, you picked the wrong yarns.
I know, but it might have been, if I'd carried on with it, it might not have been as bad as I thought. But I just...
Without wanting to add fuel to your fire, I think that's right.
This one's much better.
Yeah, but it's only through... Down here it did look muddy.
No, it didn't look like anything.
You know, you're thinking, So I think it probably would have worked if you'd carried on with yours.
I think it probably would have, yeah.
And you were probably through the hard bit.
You live and learn, don't you? But I know I love this one much more. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah. And then once you're through the trees, you then just knit plain in the background until you reach
which will be fun.
The right length.
I'll be cool with it.
And I know, because I've knit quite a lot of fingering weight hats for me now, and I know the exact length that I like before the decreases. I don't know how long the decreases are, but we'll have a look at that.
What else is on your new needles.
That's just too exciting.
It is.
Can't get over it.
Neither can I.
This is a hat. Talking of fingering weight hats. Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
We're so slick. Well, I shall tell you why. That's a hand-wound ball, shall I? Shall I tell you why? Because I bought a new Swift and ball winder recently, and it's the worst decision I've ever made.
The review has just gone out this week.
Yeah, for the ball winder.
What's wonderful about it is people are commenting saying, oh my goodness, I'm so glad you've published this review because I thought it was my ineptitude with the ball winder. And so you can, I'll link that review and you can go and watch it.
It's a Knit Pro ball winder that I bought.
Needless to say, she's wound it by hand.
I had to wind this by hand.
And look at it.
But it is really nice, isn't it, to have a hand wound ball, I think. It's just,
I'm speechless.
I know. I do really like to see a hand wound.
It draws my eye.
Ball of yarn. It's lovely. It's a bit like a gobstopper ball, isn't it, of sock yarn.
Yeah.
It's like that. And I'm using Malabrigo sock. I showed you this yarn might have been last episode, recently anyway, and it's Malabrigo sock and it's water green is the colourway, number 83. And I've wanted to use this colour for ages. Every time I go on to like Wool Warehouse or wherever and look at Malabrigo yarns for something, I always see this colour and I'm like, oh, I really love that colour. But couldn't imagine it as a sort of big thing because it's quite I don't know, I mean actually I think it would probably look nice as a shawl.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those colours that I just thought I love but I wasn't quite sure what I would do with. And then the last time I was buying yarn I thought I'm going to get a skein of this and then I'm just going to have it and it'll be there to inspire me, and that's exactly what happened, you know, and I really love that happened. So it's Malabrigo sock. I just had one skein. For a while, ages actually, I've wanted to make a hat, a fingering weight hat, using my Prairie Socks pattern. Now, a Prairie Socks was a very early sock pattern that I put out, but it's by far my most popular sock pattern, I would say, that I've designed. It's what I was saying earlier about a sock. It's got that relaxing feel of a vanilla sock, yet you're doing something and it creates a really lovely texture, and it's brilliant with literally any yarn. And that's another thing that I really like when I'm designing sock patterns. I'm always thinking I want this to work with a good variety of yarns. Sometimes that doesn't quite work, you know, if it's a very specific pattern, but on the whole I think I want it to work with a variety of yarns. So I thought, right, I'm gonna do a prairie hat with this yarn. I cast it on just the other day and I'm quite a good way through it and I'm just loving how it's knitting up. Oh my goodness. The yarn actually, at first I thought it was very flat, the colour, but actually it's not at all. It is very tonal and you can see that when it's in the screen. And I've used that rib that Dan was showing you, and can you see how it's not a normal 2x2? It's got a bit of something else going on. And it just made the ribbing go so quick, honestly. You know, I'm not fibbing when I say that.
Well, I know through having knitted twice on these, they're phenomenal.
You know, I was knitting it and I thought, oh, I'll measure it to see where I'm up to, because normally you measure rib and you've done like half an inch. Yeah. And you've got to get to 2 inches and you think, oh, I'll carry on. First time I measured this, I was just over 2 inches and I was done. You know, because I think it's just about 2¼ inch rib, that. And I think for me that's the perfect amount of rib when you're not sort of cuffing it over. You could knit twice as much if you wanted to cuff it. And then I went into the prairie pattern, which is just this really relaxing repeat, but produces such, it's so effective, I think. And again, I can't think of a yarn that this wouldn't work with. I suppose something very highly variegated and quite dark might not show up as much, but I still think you'd be able to see it. So I cast on with a 2.75mm and did the rib, and then I switched to a 3mm, which is what I was saying about loving 3mm with fingering weight yarn. It just is that magic combination for me. So I'm just going to carry on knitting this up to the length that I know for a fingering weight hat gives me just a little bit of slouch, which is how I like it. I like to be able to kind of put the hat on and just have that tiny bit. I don't want it to be a completely fitted beanie. It just has that little bit of slouch at the back. And then my plans for this is to put on a mohair pom-pom. I've done this before and I love it. I'm going to make a pom-pom and I'm going to use something like Kid Silk Haze, and I think they do have a colour that's very similar to this, but I know that I've got just a cream Kid Silk Haze in my stash that I can use if I don't think the colour's going to be quite right. And it might actually be nice to have a bit of a contrast with the pom-pom. And though I'm going to do probably 3 sizes. I will do, you know, a medium, a large, and then probably like a women's small or a child size. I do like my hats to have a bit of sort of outward slouch. Not slouch, but I don't like them to be really tight on my head. I like it to just sit really nicely, and I think it's great for, I'm thinking of ladies and gentlemen that have sort of bigger hair. So I'm going to just carry on with this. I'll get it finished, I'll write up the pattern, do all the sizing and everything, and then I'll ask for some test knitters and get that sorted and the pattern out.
Cool.
So I'm absolutely loving knitting this.
Yeah.
I really am.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, I really am loving it. It's just great projects, and my thought was that I think this will take about 50 grams. So I was thinking that you could actually, if you did contrast heels and toes on a pair of socks, I'm sure you could get a matching pair, you know, prairie socks and a prairie hat out of 100 gram skein.
Cool.
And I think that's great. I think knitters generally like it.
You should always match 2 things in your outfit. Yeah. Yes. Came out the other day for a walk, and her shoes matched her top. It brought everything together. It completed
deliberate.
the ensemble. Well, it should be. I said to her, from now on, whenever you wear that shirt, you've got to wear those shoes.
My trainers are like a shell pink.
Sometimes black shoes on a lady, it's jarring.
Yeah.
You need to soften it up a bit.
Do you?
Who am I?
I know, you like...
What am I talking about?
Like Ralph Lauren all of a sudden.
But it's true. It's true. If you can match your shoes with your outfit, then I think
shoes and handbag is normally the thing that you match.
It's too obvious. Too obvious. No.
I never do that.
I say go top and shoes, or
hat and socks. You know, it's not like you're ever going to say to someone, "Oh, look," and lift your foot up to your hat and say, "Look, they match."
They'll just see you walking past, catch a glimpse of your socks, and think,
"Oh, that matches your hat."
What a well put together lady or gent.
I wasn't thinking that people would want like a matching set. It just means that
you should.
It just means that you're using a full skein of yarn, aren't you? And there's no waste.
That's true.
That was my thought, really.
It's true. Look, I'm hungry. I want a pudding.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, prepare
so
yourself for something very special. As I said earlier, when bread and butter pudding evening came round, it was a moment of dread for me and my brothers. Soggy bread, split custard. Oh, not pleasant. So when Kay said that she was going to make bread and butter pudding, my heart sank. But then she stuck a word in front of it, and that word was posh. So I think we should head over to the kitchen and see if Kay can turn me around with her posh bread and butter pudding.
Who's ready for some more baking? This season we'll share more of the tastes of our childhood, but with some modern twists we know our mums and grandmas would love. We're going to show you how to make 8 more delicious desserts. And at the end of the season, you can vote for your favourite. Last year, Millionaire's Shortbread was your winner. And we can't wait to see which pudding wins this year. So come and join me in the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. Ladies and gentlemen, just take a look at that. There is simply nothing not to like. This is posh bread and butter pudding. Now I say posh because it did not always look quite like this. When Dan was growing up, this was the look of the bread and butter pudding that he was served. I can tell you he dreaded its monthly appearance. You see, this pudding has a frugal history. Food historians have actually traced its history to the early 11th century. Poor families, desperate to find ways of using absolutely every scrap of food they had, invented this dish to use up stale bread. Fast forward 900 years, and whilst the recipe still calls for stale bread, it has gained a reputation as the ultimate comfort food and is a featured item in many trendy eating establishments. The beauty of it is its versatility. For example, you can in fact use any type of bread. Enough talk, let's head into the kitchen and see if we can tempt Dan with some delicious Posh bread and butter pudding. Okay, so what are we going to need to make our lovely pudding? Well, first of all, we're going to need croissants. Now you can, if you prefer, you can use pain au chocolat. I can't eat chocolate, so I'm using croissants, but either of those is fine. Some double cream, some whole milk, full fat milk. I mean, I'm not sure what it's called in various countries. We call it full fat or whole milk. Ground cinnamon, this is optional. I don't like cinnamon, so I'm not going to put it in, but I will tell you when to put it in if you want to. Some vanilla extract, demerara sugar, sultanas, or you could use golden raisins, either of those is fine. Some eggs, butter, and apricot jam. And the notions, what baking notions are we going to need? Nothing complicated at all. A couple of nice roomy bowls, a measuring jug, the dish to actually bake our pudding in. Mine is about 9 inches by 6.5, and this is suitable for the quantity that I'm going to do today. So if you increase the quantities, you'll obviously need a bigger dish. And this should just be lightly buttered. Some measuring spoons, a nice sharp knife for cutting the bread, croissants, pain au chocolat, whichever you've got, and some weighing scales. So that's everything we're going to need, so it's time to get baking. Okay, so the first thing that I've done is I've taken the apricot jam, there's 2 tablespoons of apricot jam, and I've just melted that so that it goes into a liquid form. I did it just gently in the microwave. You can do it with a saucepan on the hob if you prefer. So you need your jam melted, and then I'm now going to take my croissant and I'm going to slice them into about 1 centimetre thick slices, and I'm going to slice them this way because then they'll lay in the dish better, so long ways. So just about 1 centimetre slices. Don't worry about all the bits that kind of drop off. We don't really need all those bits, so don't worry about that. And the little bits we will use to kind of jam in the corners and things. So do this with all of your croissant and just pop them into a dish or a bowl. Oops. So I'll carry on and do that with all 4. So they're all into a bowl or a dish, whichever. You can lay them in a flat dish if you prefer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make up the custard effectively. It's kind of like a custard. We're not going to heat it or anything at this point. We're just going to mix it up and then pour some of it onto the croissants. Okay, so into another bowl, I'm going to mix together the custard. So that's going to be the milk, the cream, the eggs, the vanilla, and if you're using the cinnamon, you can put the cinnamon into the custard as well. The milk first of all, and I'm going to use 330 mils. So my jug is only small, it only goes up to 250 mils, so I'm going to put 250 in and then a bit more. 330 mils of the full fat milk. I'm then going to need 80 millilitres of the double cream. If I can get into it. Apparently it's been soldered on. Oh my word, this is comical. I can't get into it. Oh, I've done it. Good heavens. Right, so 80 mils of the cream. And that in with the milk. Make sure you get it all in. And now some vanilla extract, about a teaspoon. I just tend to do it by eye, but if you're not confident, then use a measuring spoon. And then the eggs. So I'm just going to crack the eggs straight into there. That's 4 eggs. And then I'm just going to take a balloon whisk and just whisk all this together. So that's just all nicely whisked together now. And now I'm going to pour about half of it onto the croissants. I'm just sort of gauging about half. That seems about right to me. And then I'm going to leave that just to soak in for a few minutes, just while we prepare the baking dish. So put the other half of the mixture to one side, the custard, and then bring in your baking dish. Okay, so what I've done to the baking dish is I've taken a good amount of that butter and I've just buttered it all over inside. Now you can, if you want to, you can actually butter on one side your slices of croissant before you put the custard mixture over it. I haven't done that because I just want to keep the butter content a bit down, because my croissants are all butter anyway. But if you want to, you can also butter your croissants before you pour over that custard mixture. But I have, as you can see, I have buttered my dish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle onto the bottom of the dish a tablespoon of demerara sugar. Just all over the bottom of the dish. If you were adding cinnamon, you can now also sprinkle on some cinnamon, however much you want to really. If you really like it, you can add a bit more. If not, you know, just put a little bit. And then I'm gonna pop in the sultanas or raisins, whichever you're using. Sprinkle those over. And I've got about 30 grams. But again, it's a movable feast really. If you really like raisins, sultanas, you can add a few more, but it's about 30 grams there. And then I'm going to also put in my jam, but not all of it. Just keep a little bit back, because we're just going to glaze the pudding when it comes out of the oven. So just keep a little bit back and then just sort of sprinkle little blobs over the base of your dish. And then just keep that little bit back there just for glazing the top. So that's our dish prepared. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the slices of croissant. I'm going to go from the bottom upwards because I want the croissants to be covered in that kind of custardy mixture. And I'm going to lay them in. Kind of squash them down. The first layer I'm just going to cover the kind of base. And make sure they kind of overlap. Can you see how they're overlapping a little bit there? Squish them in. Now traditionally, as we've probably already told you, this pudding would have been made with leftover bread. And these croissants actually, I'll tell you, were a few days old. When I bought them, I just left them in the cupboard for a few days so that they're on the edge of sort of going a little bit sort of stale. And that's the best way for them to be. You want that little bit of staleness going on, because then it will soak up more of the custardy sauce and they're just a little bit easier to work with. So I'm really packing it in, and now you can see I've got some shorter gaps there at the bottom. Whatever your dish, you know, however your dish is shaped like, you can just make your bread fit really. It's very amenable. So I'm just making sure that it's all covered. And then these last few slices I'm going to put on top and overlap them again. You can see it's really soaked up now. We've used all of that custard that was in there. That's a few little bits, just fit those in wherever they will go. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of my custard mixture and I'm going to pour it all over. Do this fairly gently because it will soak up that mixture. So just all over, just gently. Make sure you cover, you go into all of the nooks and crannies of the croissant. And I've got all those vanilla seeds at the end there. Can you see them all? So I'm going to make sure they all go in. There we go. All that's left to do is to get another tablespoon of your demerara sugar, and we're just going to sprinkle that on top. This will give a really nice crunchy topping. So just onto the bready bits. And also you could put another little dusting of cinnamon if you wanted to. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave it to rest for about 10 minutes before I put it in the oven. And what that will do is that will just give the bread chance just to suck up as much of that custard as it wants to. So about 10 minutes, just leave it in, on the side, and then come back in part 2. We will be popping it in the oven, letting it cook, and then we can try it. So we'll see you back in part 2.
Oh my goodness, what a pudding. And we've not even tried it yet.
Nope.
I just love how these ingredients, when combined, they just transform into something totally different.
It is surprising.
I know that seems like an obvious statement to make. When you take a croissant and you put it in a bowl and do the things that you do with it to make this, you don't think that when you pull it out the oven, it's going to be just an absolute...
It's just, you can't even describe what it's... How would you describe the kind of texture and...
It's really difficult.
It's very difficult.
It certainly wasn't like this when I was young. This was a poor man's pudding, and that's what it felt like when we were kids.
Mm.
This felt like, and maybe that's why we didn't like it, because we didn't have a lot of money.
No.
It was my gran that used to make it. She will have been using up all the bits and pieces. What transforms it is, it's still stale. That's still key,
stale.
Isn't it? The bread.
Yeah, it should be on the way to being stale. It shouldn't be fresh, really soft bread. That's not what you want.
What transforms it for me really is how versatile this is. Because by approaching it in the way that you approach it, in the making of this version of bread and butter pudding, you could serve this for breakfast, for lunch, for tea.
For pudding, yeah.
And if you served it for tea, you could serve it after an extremely posh meal.
I think you could.
And people would be like, ooh.
Yeah,
what's
I think you absolutely could.
It's
it
unexpected.
Does. And brilliant. Just, I imagined this Christmas morning, having this as your breakfast.
Oh, forget Christmas.
But I think it would just be great.
I'm sure it would, but I'm going to have it whatever morning I want to have it.
Well, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Don't wait till Christmas. Make it now.
Absolutely, make it now. But what I'm saying is, it's not something you would eat every day. There's a lot of...
Why not?
A lot of fat in there, let's be honest.
Go for a run.
You all know what I'm saying. It's very much... But all puddings, really, I think of as a treat. It's not something I would eat every day.
No.
And it's the same kind of thing.
Well, the last time we had bread and butter pudding was bought from Marks and Spencer's
years
about
ago.
13 years ago.
And it was nice.
I didn't eat all of mine.
Oh, did you not?
No.
I don't really remember. I do remember having it and thinking it was nice,
like
but you didn't like it.
I don't think I'd like it now if you made it with slices of white bread.
Yeah, it doesn't, when you eat it, you don't think this is bread.
That's
do. Not. With the bread.
When you make it, whenever I've eaten it, when it's got slices of white bread in it.
Because I think you can still see that it's slices of white bread, because traditionally you cut little triangles and you stack them all up. And you can still see that it's bread. And
it also, in the ones that I've had, the corners curl up.
Yeah,
and it feels a bit like wet toast.
Yeah.
It feels similar to French toast.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got the same ingredients, really, as French toast. But
when you make it in the way that Kay's made it, It is totally different.
The main difference for me was that all of the croissant had the sauce, the custard within it. There was a little bit on the top which was crunchy, but in general it's all sort of one substance rather than being able to see like sliced bread on the top.
Yeah, come back later when we'll be trying it. And it's immense, so don't miss that. But now it's time for a very exciting Kay Jones. What's off your needles?
Oh, well, I've got two very exciting things.
Show us the scarf.
Yes, I'll show you the scarf first. That's your item.
Zzz. Zzz. Oh, it's a fly.
Oh, flies.
Oh, do you know what? As you mentioned, as they come up, look. The latest Knitability is out now, and in that issue of Knitability, I talk about summer, and I talk about the summers of my youth, and I have a perfect example on my arm
of the
reason why I did not enjoy the summers of my youth. When I get bitten,
it's really bad.
It's really bad.
He reacts really badly to bites. I don't know if anyone else is the same as
this
that.
bite is 2 days old.
It's more. It's 3 or 4 days old.
When this hit... It was awful.
Yeah, I mean, they swell up really bad, and you know it's like a big welt on your skin.
Summer it's so challenging because it's warm, so you open the windows, but then the bugs fly in,
and all the bugs come in,
and you get bitten. So what do you do? What you have to do is you have to shut the windows and stew yourself. What I'm loving though about this summer, this is the first summer. It's got to be 4 years where normally come the 1st of June I'm in shorts until September.
That's true. And you've got jeans on.
I've had trousers on a number of days. It's excellent news.
We like it.
We want to see this lovely thing.
Guess what? I finished Bryony's Starry Night scarf.
Woohoo!
Oh my goodness. I never thought this would end. Honestly, I kept measuring it and measuring
She's
it and measuring it.
She's going to love wearing this.
But she loves it. Yeah, she's seen it, obviously, and she loves it. I only finished putting on the fringe yesterday, so it's literally freshly done. She's not had to wait very long to have it. But yeah, it's the Starry Night scarf. Look, I'll put it on.
Right.
That was it. I've got a little... Oh, I'll tell you, actually, I've got a little shawl on. This is a lace-weight shawl. It was a birthday gift from a lovely friend this year, and it's the Ashling by Vera Valimaki. Beautiful little garter and lace shawl.
You've added it to your collection, haven't you?
My collection?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Haven't you got more than one of these?
Oh, I've got two.
Yes.
Yeah. She knit me one before in a gold colour, and I loved it so much. And
she demanded it in a different colour.
I said, I'd love that in a different colour. And she remembered and knit me another one in this kind of pinky red. Yeah, so I finished Bryony's scarf. Look how lovely it is. And it's a really good length. I'll just stand up. Look, you can't even see the ends. But look, it comes... It's a really good scarf length. I persevered and made it a good length.
Yeah.
I did have to buy another skein. I was knitting this...
It's gorgeous yarn.
Yeah, I was knitting it double. It's River Knits, and it's that Starry Night colourway. And this is a BFL 4-ply, 100% BFL.
Oh, it's nice. Springy.
And I was holding it double, and I knit it in the round. I cast on 60 stitches, and I used a 5.5mm needle. I knit it on double points. And I just basically kept going and kept going and kept going until it was long enough. So there it is in all its glory.
Stunning.
And I did have to buy another skein. So the scarf minus the fringe was 240 grams. And then the fringe actually used quite a lot. I reckon there might be another 20 grams in the fringe. So I reckon it's 250, 260 grams I used for this. So I do have a little bit left over, which is good. But I was pleased that it wasn't just like 10 grams of the third skein. I was really happy that it used a good amount. And I've washed it, and do you know what? I thought when I washed this, because it's such a dark colour, I thought I bet it bleeds a bit, and do you know what? It totally didn't.
That's amazing.
I let it soak for about 15-20 minutes in just lukewarm water. It wasn't really hot or anything, but it just had the merest hint of blue, and a tiny little smidge, so really it didn't bleed at all, and that's phenomenal, I think, for such a dark colour. Doesn't it look fantastic though? Yeah. Doesn't it look exactly like what it's meant to be?
Yeah.
And my nails completely match, look.
Yeah.
Obviously done that deliberately. So Bryony can have this today when she gets home from school, and she's thrilled, and she'll wear it, and it means that she's not wearing out the new Scamander scarf as much that I made her, because she wears that literally every day. Every morning when she's going to school, she'll say, "Is it too hot for my scarf?" So that's all done.
Brilliant.
I'm so pleased to get that done, and I'm so pleased I persevered. Yes. Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's off your needles?
I finished my clay quat toque.
Yes. Take two.
I used my new Colorwork technique for this. If you remember, I spoke about it a little bit before. If you look at the floats, that's the floats on my new technique. Mm-hmm. And could you turn that one inside out? This is the one I made before. And this is the floats on my old technique. So
vastly different.
It's vastly different because what I'm doing is every stitch I'm alternating the position of the yarn. Is that the best?
Top to bottom.
Yeah, from top to bottom.
Instead of like one colour being always on the bottom.
Yeah.
He's switching that.
Yeah.
So it's sort of doing,
Yes, that's exactly right. And the effect it has on the fabric is really profound. I mean, if you look at this one... So
this was the first one done the sort of traditional way.
I mean, if you're talking about yarn dominance, just look. The little blue stitches are disappearing and, the colour which is shouting out at you, your eye's being drawn...
To the white.
But if you look at the new technique... It's a much more even...
It is. There's a huge difference.
There is. Now you're no longer looking just at the white. You're looking at the whole project. I'm really happy because this is what I want to be able to do on the top of the clay quat cardigan. Now, I've only just obviously done this once, and so I'm not completely happy with... I mean, if you see, some of the stitches are sort of...
Yeah, but you're being very nitpicky from someone who is nitpicky.
Yes.
So that tells you
I've learned from the best.
That tells you how nitpicky. But it definitely is more of an even size, with between the navy and the white.
Yeah. And nothing is disappearing. Nothing's being sucked in.
Oh look, I've got stripes going that way and then stripes going that way.
I'm really, really pleased that I've managed to find a way of resolving this problem. What I want to do now is I want to perfect.
You and Bryony can wear these together because this is really big and you could wear this, and this one fits Bryony perfectly. You can go out together. You look
like what?
You look lovely together.
Well, I'm going to knit you one too. And we can all wear them.
I don't want it in blue.
No, I need to knit another one in the gold and the pink and the white.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to give you different yarn because although this yarn isn't scratchy, it's not scratchy. It's definitely got a bit of tooth to it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And for things on my head, because my hair's really fine, I often think I'm going bald. But I've always had really fine hair, so there's not actually a lot of hair on my head. So I do tend to feel any yarn that's slightly prickly, so I'm going to give you something.
I think I know why this is pulling.
A bit softer. Why?
I think I need to give I think the floats just need to be slightly more, when I'm moving the yarn around, I just need to not be...
Slightly more...
No, less. It needs to just be slightly looser.
Right.
Because I think what's happening is because I'm coming up and round and over when I'm doing the knit stitch, if the yarn is say underneath, I think that then is then pulling it one way and then pulling it the other way.
But you're being harsh though. I mean, it's...
If I'm going to do this though, Kate...
I think it's marvellous. Just get on and knit the cardigan.
Well, the thing is though, I'm not getting on and knitting the cardigan.
No, that's true, you are.
In fact, I'm knitting the cardigan so hard, I injured myself yesterday, and it's making me wonder if when I change onto 4.5mm needles...
Oh gosh, you've got a dent in your finger from where you've been pushing.
Yeah. I think... Do
you want wooden?
Yeah, I think I should try wooden.
Right, okay.
So once I finish the ribbon, I'll change it to 4.5mm.
Right.
And I mean, I actually woke up. I mean, I always wake up early, but I woke up and it was throbbing.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
I mean, it was really throbbing.
Knitting injuries are real, everyone.
You can see there it's red compared to that one. But a couple of ibuprofen, job done. I feel great.
I bet you do. Yeah.
Now, folks, today momentous day because the next chapter in Clementine's story has been published, and it's been published in Kay's brand new pattern.
Yes.
And that pattern is called The Whispers in the Walls. And she's got a pair right here to show you.
I've got the pair here.
Here's some she made about 6 months ago.
That's true. It's so strange. This is the second pattern in the Swish and Flick collective, which came out today. So check.
Oh my goodness!
Check your libraries. This design is based on the second book. And in particular, my inspiration was the scene towards the end of the film where our magical hero is fighting the monster in the kind of tunnels. And that was my inspiration. So we've got a panel running down the front of the sock, and I'll take these off and show you a bit more, and I'll get down to put some photos in. We've also got down the back of the leg, we've also got a little bit of detail, and I'll explain to you what each of the elements represent. So down the front, we've got this zigzag lace, which is the lightning scar, and then these bands of twisted stitches is the snake-like monster, and then running down the back of the leg we've got the sword that comes in to save the day. So that'll be, that's the elements that are on the sock. And I remember when I designed these, I just loved these socks so much. I kept showing you, didn't I, saying, look at that, isn't that lovely? The thing that makes these particularly lovely is the yarn, and I'll talk about the yarn in a minute, but look, it's so pretty, and it was so lovely to knit. It looks like it might be complicated. It's really not. It's not complicated at all. It's like my
perfect pattern in the sense of I love cables and I love lace.
Yeah, there's no actual cables in it. It's like there's no cables in it. It's sort of mock cable effect, if you like. So you're not using a cable needle at all to produce any of it. Yeah.
It's
brilliant.
Just
and then the little, the little detail down the back of the leg, I really like as well. That's
unlike any pair of socks.
No, I've never done a pair of socks like this before. I was just so thrilled. So completely thrilled with these, and all my test knitters said they really enjoyed knitting them. Sarah, was it you? I think Sarah used like a deep maroon colour, if I'm remembering right. Oh my goodness, they were fabulous. The colour was just amazing. It was just fantastic. But the yarn I used is this, and this is how much I had left of the skein.
Gosh, that's a lot.
I know. So I don't know, maybe 35 grams, something like that. I'm not sure how much I used for the socks actually. But it's Regia, it's a Regia yarn, and it's Merino Yak. And the colour I used is 07504, and it's gold and then a word I can't pronounce that begins with an M, but that's the colourway number. And I just thought this colour just made me think of, old colour is the wrong word to use, but it's like a faded gold. And I was thinking of like the sword and the stone work and all those kinds of things. And I just thought it was just such a great colour. And this yarn is very heathered. If I hold it close, you can probably see it's very heathered. It was gorgeous to knit with. It's made the most fantastic pair of socks. It blocked beautifully. It's very plump. It's gorgeously plump. It's got some fantastic colours. This is another colour that I've got.
That would look lovely.
In that,
yes,
I know.
Yes.
I'm tempted to knit another pair because this one is called...
What great yarn.
It's fantastic yarn. I got mine from Love Knitting. So they ship worldwide, but I know that a lot of people have told me that they've found it at Webb's, I think it was.
Right.
So just Google it and
you should totally do a proper review of this yarn.
Yeah, it's really lovely. The only thing I can't comment on is how it wears, because I wore these to model them for the pattern photos, but that's the only time I've worn them because I obviously wanted to keep them nice to show you all. But this colour is 07513, and again, can you see how heathered it is? And how plump is that skein?
It's very plump.
It looks ginormous, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You get a 400 metres for 100 grams.
Well. So
it's a standard sort of yardage for a sock weight, and that just shows you how lovely and plump it is. And it was just fantastic to knit with. It was about £12 a ball, I think, maybe a bit more. It was no more than 15, I'm certain, because having the yak in there will make it more of a luxurious yarn. But it's 58% wool, 28% polyamide, and 14% yak.
Right.
It's lovely and soft. I could wear this on my neck without a problem, so it'd be great for other projects as well. The stitch definition was the thing that I really loved about it. You know, it would make for the most fantastic cabled item as well. It's a very rounded yarn, which is great for cables, and I think it's why it showed up the twists so beautifully well. And you can see how tonal. If I show you
would it be good for colourwork, do you think?
I think it would be brilliant for colourwork. Yeah, I do. Because it feels like a nice woolly wool, but it's not prickly at all.
No.
So I do think it would be beautiful for colourwork.
Got a hat for you in it.
Oh yeah, hat would be gorgeous in that. That's my colour.
It just needs a contrast.
I've got some of that left over. That would work.
I just need a third contrast.
That's DK weight.
Oh, right.
But that actually would work as a contrast, I think, and there's a good amount left there.
Just need a pattern for
fingering weight. Yeah.
That's okay.
So, it was such a fantastic...
Massively plumper than the fingering weight I'm knitting with.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's really plump. And I used 2.25mm, and it gave me such a nice, dense fabric. I still got the same gauge as I normally get for socks, about 9 stitches to the inch, but it just meant it was a bit more cushy, you know?
Yeah.
Didn't have there's no gaps between it or anything. It's just lovely, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed knitting these socks. They were an absolute joy, and just seeing them kind of emerge from my needles. And I knit the first one, I was like, I so wanted to get to the end so that I could just see what the whole thing looked like.
Yeah.
And I so wanted to put it on my foot so that I could see what it looked like, up the front of the foot. And I think because I'd put so much, this is the case with all of the designs in this collection, I've honestly put such a lot of thought into it. I've really, I really sat down and I pondered over each of the designs for a long time before deciding on the exact inspiration and the exact way I wanted to interpret that inspiration. And these are I'm just so pleased with them, and I think they might be my favourite project from the collection, but actually I love all of the designs.
It's the one that you've gone on about the most.
It's the one I've gone on about the most, I think. For all of the reasons that I've just been saying, and I know a lot of people have gone out and bought this, and I would really, if you haven't and you fancy giving it a go, it's not super expensive, it's not as much as a hand-dyed skein of yarn, but I loved it, and I would work with this again in an absolute heartbeat. And there's a lovely range of colours as well. Really nice, there's a really nice pink as well.
Cool.
So there we go, that's Whispers in the Walls, and the name obviously comes from the fact that that's what Harry hears all the time, doesn't he, in the walls. He said he can hear noises like somebody talking in the walls, so that's where I got the name from.
Cool. Can we finish off our pudding?
Yes.
Excellent. Let's get back to the kitchen, get it finished, and then let's see what it tastes like.
Welcome back everybody to part 2 of Pudding Club. Now our lovely bread and butter pudding has just had 10 minutes just soaking up time, and we're now going to pop it into a medium oven, about 180 degrees C or 160 if it's a fan oven, for about 30-35 minutes. Keep an eye on it, obviously you don't want anything to burn, but yeah, about 30-35 minutes. So I'm going to go and pop that in the oven. Okay, 30 minutes are up. It's looking ready to me, so let's get it out of the oven. So there it is in all its glory. What I'm going to do now is just the last bit of jam, the apricot jam that I had left over. It had gone a little bit back to jam consistency, so I just reheated it, and I'm just going to glaze the top. Don't worry if a bit of jam gets on there, but this will just give the croissants a lovely shine. So just glaze all over. Lovely. And then I'm just going to let this stand for just sort of 5 minutes or so, and then I'll just give it everything chance to settle a little bit, and then we can cut a piece. This would make the most amazing indulgent breakfast. Can you imagine if it was, gosh, Christmas would be fantastic, or a birthday, or just as a special treat. You could make this for your breakfast one morning, and it's actually really good cold as well. You can eat it hot as a pudding, or, you know, if there's leftovers, save it for breakfast the next day, or make it special for breakfast. So there we go, it's lovely and shiny now. I'm going to just give it 5 minutes to settle, and then we can cut a piece. We're ready to try it. It looks yummy. I don't think I've had bread and butter pudding in many years, so this will be interesting. Here we go. Oh wow. Oh, it's really nice. Oh, it's yummy. I know that extra bit of cream is very indulgent that I added to it, but oh, it's good. I'm gonna have another bit. It kind of doesn't taste like croissant anymore. I can't really describe it. It's so yummy. It's so nice, and then you occasionally get that raisin at the bottom and a bit of the sweetness from the apricot jam as well. It's absolutely delicious. I would really recommend that you try this. If you've never tried it before, bread and butter pudding, give it a go, definitely. It's fantastic. I'm going to finish the whole lot. There we go. That's this time's Pudding Club. We will see you back on the next episode, where we'll be making something equally as yummy, I'm absolutely certain. So I'll see you back soon. Oh wow.
Let me tell you folks, that is stunning. It's the very first pudding I've ever been around which you could eat literally at any time of the day.
And you did have some, didn't you, for your breakfast the other...
Yes, we told them earlier.
Second breakfast it was.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it is just absolutely gorgeous. So make it. You
Definitely.
will not regret it.
Doesn't use anything glamorous either. You've probably got most of the things in.
It'd be perfect with cream or ice cream, to be fair.
It would, yeah.
Or even custard.
Custard would work too.
Could absolutely have that with custard.
Yeah.
So that means next time it's a brand new adventure, and you're going to be joining me on a trip down memory lane. Now, last year in our advent calendar, we took you to a place which I went to an awful lot when I was young, because I used to be a choir boy. I used to be part of the Three Choirs Festival, where we used to travel to different cathedrals. It was the same 3 cathedrals every year. We would travel to the cathedrals and we would sing. And I hadn't been back to this particular cathedral in 30 years. The last time I was there, my mum had forgotten to come and pick me up, and I'd been stood on the curb waiting, and I just had awful memories of it. And I think that's the reason why I hadn't been back. It was like a memory block. We went back. Oh my goodness. And we said in that advent calendar that we had to come here on a new adventure, and that is what you'll be joining me and taking just the best trip down memory lane as I retrace my steps as a choir boy in my favourite cathedral in the UK, and we trace the history, and the history of this cathedral is mind-blowing from its birth right the way through to modern day. We'll also
Fantastic cathedral.
Trying pork pies from a shop where Prince Charles gets his pork pies from.
It does.
It's the most special place, and also it has a supermarket in it where I can go and stock up for us.
Oh, it's got a booth.
Our peppermint tea.
Did we say where? Are we not saying where it is?
Well, you have. It's Ripon.
It's Ripon in North Yorkshire.
So we will be exploring the rather wonderful delights of Ripon, so do not miss that.
It's a fantastic cathedral.
It is.
I actually loved it more than York.
Oh, it's my favourite cathedral in the UK.
It's smaller than York, but that's why I loved it more.
It's mind-blowing.
It was just fantastic. And we were chatting actually to a priest in there, weren't we?
Yeah.
Just fantastic place. Loved it.
With a crypt dating from
amazing.
600 AD.
Amazing.
The original crypt.
You can go down and... fantastic.
It's the most special place ever. So join me next time. We'll be tracing the history of the town, and obviously focusing very much in on that stunning cathedral.
Pork pie.
Oh, yes. it's time for us to do the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Now, there's a prize draw actually, isn't there?
There is. It's the first prize draw in the Swish and Flick. So this is for the first skein of yarn that I dyed up, and it's the burrow colourway. Seemed appropriate because we've just had the burrow wrap. So this is my burrow colourway. You can see it's a variegated, but a very tonal variegated, if that's the right way of describing it. I dye this in a very particular way. I don't know whether I'm certain I probably didn't invent this particular dye method, but I'd never seen it anywhere previously. It just produces such a lovely yarn. So skein of the burrow, and I drew from all of the people that have commented and chatted and posted pictures so far in the thread for the Swish and Flick. So it's from numbers 2 to 814.
Wow.
That's how amazing you've all been and how enthusiastic and chatty, and it's just fantastic. I love going in there. I go in every day, I read all the comments and then answer questions if you've asked me anything, you know, that previous day. So it's just been amazing. So the winner, and I did take a photo of the random number generator, and that'll be up on screen now, and the number was number 159, and that's Florence, and Florence is in Cambridge in New York. So how amazing that there's a Cambridge in New York. I knew there was a Cambridge in Massachusetts. Didn't know there was one in New York.
Where?
Florence, that's your skein of yarn. So if you could just get in touch with me, the best way of doing that is via the website. There's a contact page on there. So if you can just send me a message with your full name and address, and I'll get that sent out to you. And if I don't hear from you in the next week, I'll send you a message just to get your details. So yay, well done. And I'll be drawing for the next one on the release of the third pattern. So that's really exciting.
And that will be in episode 130 then? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So episode 130, you'll be drawing for the next one.
Yeah.
With Kay mentioning the website, that's also a really good opportunity for me to let you know. As you know, we launched our website in December last year, and we're constantly doing lots of work on it. We're always getting more and more functionality on it and lots of cool features. And now I'm really glad and really pleased to say it is the place where you can literally see every one of Kay's patterns, including all the Platinum collection. Absolutely every one of Kay's patterns is now on the website. So if you're wanting to have a look at any of Kay's patterns, or find a sock she's done, or the shawls, or any of them, it's all there on the website. And also on the page which has got all the information on about each of the patterns, you'll also find appropriate links there for how you can go about buying that pattern too, if you want to buy it.
I realised recently I was doing some design work, and I thought, I know what type of yarn I need for that, and I didn't have quite the right yarn in my stash. And I realised that actually I haven't bought any skeins of kind of hand-dyed yarn for quite some time. And the skeins that I do have, I've got quite a lot up here, you can see in this cube here. I've had these for quite some time, and they're all fairly bold colours. I am drawn to sort of the bold colours, but then actually when I come to do a design, particularly sock designs is what was on my mind, didn't quite have the right sort of yarn. So I thought, right, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna buy a few yarns, new to me dyers that the colours appealed to me and would work for particularly, like I say, sock designs, hat designs, things like that. So the first couple of skeins I bought were from Olan. Now I'd not really heard of this particular dyer, but Hohi was talking about her recently. She designed a shawl using Olan yarn, and quite often, I just presume that these yarn dyers are either in the States or Canada, places where it's difficult for me to get the yarn without incurring huge taxes, huge import duties. So I kind of dismiss it. But this one, for some reason, I thought I'm going to go and have a look. And actually, she's in Ireland. And I was like, well, that's amazing. I'm going to go and look at her website straight away. So I did do that, and there was loads of colours that I loved. Not a lot of them were in stock, but I did find a couple that I really liked. And I wanted... The base that I really like designing socks with is the kind of standard 75-25 sock yarn. And I've discovered over various sort of designs and swatches, that this particular yarn, it's a nice sort of crisp yarn. It shows stitches off really well, and yet it's still sort of nice and squishy. So I knew that I wanted that particular base, and with this dyer, the base is called Sock Light, spelt L-I-T-E. It says 80-20, but I thought it was a 75-25, which is strange. But it looks exactly the same as a 75-25, so I've never seen it as an 80-20 before, but it's very, very similar in any case. It's got that same look. And this particular colourway is called Lover's Lane, so it's Olan, and I just thought, that is so pretty. It's got this pink base with then speckles of a bright blue, and there's some green and a bit of gold down here. And that type of yarn where you get just lightly speckled like that, I'm hoping it'll be lightly speckled when I knit it up, really knits up to sock designs really nicely, and I just love the colours, and I like the name as well. Lover's Lane is really sweet, isn't it? So I got that one, and then I saw this one, and this one's a bit brighter, but I couldn't resist it because I loved the colours and I loved the name of it as well. And this one, same base, and this one's called Obelisk. So it's got that Egypt connection, which always fascinates me. And it's like peaches with then speckles of like a neon yellow and a black, which, you know, on the face of it doesn't sound like me, but I just think it's so pretty. And again, I think this will work really nicely for a sock design. So I got those two skeins. You know, the service was great. It came from Ireland in under a week, I would say. I don't think it was a full week, which I think is perfectly fine. And obviously because it's Ireland, I don't incur any sort of import duties or anything like that. Brilliant, really lovely, loved that. And then I spoke about, on the last episode, I spoke how I was knitting some yarns that I was given by Kelly into my blanket, and they were Sherry Iris yarns. And I have bought one skein of yarn previously of Sherry's, and it was when I was doing the Miss Potter Sock Club. She had a colourway which was Peter Rabbit, and I ordered that, and I actually sent that skein of yarn to one of my test knitters, to Sarah, and she knit her Peter socks in that Peter Rabbit yarn. So that's why I wanted to buy that one. So I didn't actually get to knit with it, but that, you know, that was fine because that's what I wanted to do with that skein. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to Sherry's shop and have a look. And I bought this skein, which is the same base, it's the 75-25 again, and it's called Sweet Molly. And it's just this pink sort of speckly tonal, and it's just gorgeous. It's just perfect again for the sort of sock designs that I like to do. The thing I like about Sherry's yarns are, it's like the clarity of the dyeing. Do you know how sometimes I think dyes can look a bit muddy? These I always think Sherry's colours look really clear and crisp, and I just really love that. It was the same with the Olan. I think these are very clear as well. There's no muddying of colours, and that's one of my favourite things. So I got this one, the Sweet Molly, which is just gorgeous. And she put me in an extra skein. She'd seen the podcast, and I honestly didn't think for a minute that she watched, and she'd seen me talk about that particular bluey purple that I'd knit into the blanket, and she told me, she handwrote me a note, which, you know, in this day and age of technology, you don't often see a handwritten letter, do you? But it was quite a long note, and she'd handwritten in it, and she'd said that that particular colourway was part of a club, so it wasn't a yarn that was sort of repeatable, but this colour of hers was very similar, so she sent me a skein, and this is in celebration of lilacs, and it's an MCN, and how gorgeous is that? It's very me, isn't it? It's pinks and blues and like lilacs. It's just gorgeous. So again, I'm sure I will use this for some kind of design. So I was really pleased with those, and I bought a couple of others as well. I will show you those next time.
Cool. To
sort of build up this little collection of yarns, you know, that I can just grab when the inspiration strikes.
Lots going on over the next 2 weeks, but key date, Sunday, 30th of June, next patron-only show. For those of you who can access it live, it will be at 2 p.m. BST. We'll post a link at 1:30 in the afternoon BST.
Not in the morning.
1:30 with the link to the green room, so you can get in there and have a chat with people before the show starts at 2.
And people do. It's really cool because we can
yes.
see the chat that's going on
Yes.
beforehand. And it's really brilliant.
And then the recording of the show, for those of you who can access the recording, it's available from 3 p.m. BST. And in this show, we're going to be announcing to the world our top 5 patterns of all time. And we're going to be explaining the reasons as to why each of those patterns. And we'd like the people who come along to the show to maybe share with us what your top 5 patterns are of all time as well.
So if you're watching now and you're going to be watching on Sunday, have a think and let us know.
Yes. Well, let us know at the show.
On the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't miss the latest Knitability, which is out right now with my article all about summer. Oh yes, I reminisce, and then I persuade myself that actually summer's pretty damn cool. But there's also a great interview with a superb designer, really cool show diary from the New Hampshire Sheep and Wool Festival, a brilliant Meet the Fender. It's a really cool issue, so don't miss that. It's available right now. But that is it from us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
For those of you who've stuck to the end, we're going to give you one little tidbit of information that no one else knows about, and that is this. We're working on a secret project.
We are.
It's unlike anything we've ever done before. This project is for everyone.
Yes.
I mean everyone. Yes, it is, of course, empowered by our Bakery Bear patrons, but it is for everyone. And we're saying nothing more at this stage other than we were extremely nervous until we got some initial feedback, which was positive, really positive. And so we're now pushing ahead with this new project, and just keep your diaries free in August.
It's really exciting.
It's very exciting. Sadly, it's not a retreat.
Oh, it's not a retreat.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
That is definitely, we would love to do that at some point. But hopefully you're going to love this.
Yes, I'm sure you will.
Do you see, when you stay to the end, you get the good stuff.
You get extra little bits of info.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and knit yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and watch Dan and Kay